took time in your afternoon to join us for the event, How to Travel and Not Worry About Money. Okay, if we look around, I can think that some of you might be thinking, how on earth would I travel and not worry about money? I mean, worrying about money is something we do every day, some of us maybe all day long. And you might be thinking, who the hell are those two people that think they can teach me something about what to worry and what not to worry about, and especially how to do my personal finances? We want to say up front, us two are not financial advisors. So today is not about telling you how to invest, if you should buy jewelry, or if you should invest in that and that stock. It's more about sharing our experience, what worked for us, and how we sustain currently our traveling. So it should be also, of course, an event where we exchange ideas. And we'd like to point out that it's a Finimize event. Who of you guys is familiar with Finimize? Okay. Finimize, I will give a quick introduction. So it's a company that set out with a mission to make financial news more digestible and understandable for millennials. So free of jargon and easy to understand. Within a couple of years, they managed to build a community of over 350,000 Finimizers worldwide. And they are also hosting community events worldwide. And this one is the first event in Bali that they have. So you can go and check them out. We're not part of them, but basically we're part of the community because we enjoy reading the newsletter. So what will this event be about? We will give you an introduction to a financial concept called FIRE and how it helped us to go traveling and its relevance in the context of traveling and digital nomadism. And we will share our 5-step guide on how we achieved FIRE. So up front, it has to do with financial independence. And of course, it's about exchanging ideas and hopefully also triggering you to think or rethink a little bit your own finances. So who are we? Now we come to that part. We are Anna, short for Anastasia, and Tomer. We met in Amsterdam a couple of years ago when we were studying together. And you might basically think, or we had a life in Amsterdam that might be considered ideal. So we were working in good positions in multinationals. I was a new business developer in an innovation company of a health tech company. Tomer was an agile project manager at an IT company. We had good salaries, we had an apartment in the heart of Amsterdam, we had amazing friends, good activities on the weekend, we even had a boat that we were using in Amsterdam. So everything was fine and we should basically have the happy life. We love to travel since we can think, so since we know each other, we have been always taking any opportunity to escape for a weekend or put all of our vacation days together to go and travel for a longer time. And traveling really long term and quitting or taking a break from our jobs, going traveling for a long time has been something on our mind for many years. So it's a goal that we set each other a couple of years ago, and it was always like snoozing in the back of our minds. But we were very good in procrastinating that event because life happened and all kinds of things came in between, and we were very busy living our lives, doing our careers, until we came to a moment when we started thinking, is it like what we're doing, is this still what really fulfills us? Do we enjoy our jobs? Why are we working so hard? Is it really, what do we want to do in our life, and do we really see our current path that we're following as the routine that we want to live for the many years to come? And we also started thinking that it might be kind of a point where we are, if we don't go now to travel and really make that dream come true, then we might regret it afterwards, like for a long time. So we started actively planning, and this is also what we would like to share with you, how we did that for that trip, especially financially as well as mentally. It was a big step. Some of you might recognize that are living abroad. And since we left, we can really focus on things that we enjoy. So we both have a passion for writing, so we started a blog where we're discussing topics like, for example, today. So in the last couple of months, 7 months, we set out. We were traveling in Southeast Asia, and now we're staying for a month in Bali. And one cool thing that we did, we really recommended, is drive your own tuk-tuk in Sri Lanka. We were spending 1 month of driving around the island. It was amazing. But we were not only traveling kind of to see the countries and the places where we've been, but also really we were on a journey to discover ourselves. And if we're looking at our generation, I think we can say that we're probably not the only ones. So our generation, Generation Y, is the most confused generation that has ever existed. And if you were born between 1980 and 95, you're a millennial, there's no escaping that, and you're part of the struggle. Who of you guys knows the pyramid of Maslow? Yeah. So Maslow has been looking into what makes people happy. And he has created a framework that describes human motivation based on the needs that we have. And it's saying that as long as we're physiologically okay, that means we have food and we have shelter, our basic level of needs is fulfilled. And then we're looking for safety, so really no physiological harm, but also if we can sleep at night, not worrying about money, then we're good. Then we're looking for fulfilling relationships. And once we have that, humans are by nature competitive, so we're trying to get recognition from our environment. So if I say, for example, to Madalina, she's wearing an amazing, beautiful dress today, she will feel good because, you know, it's satisfying the esteem. Or if I say to February that she's doing a great job organizing events, that's basically that level. And once you're having the 4 levels fulfilled, you should, in theory, not miss anything. So you should have everything to be happy. And I guess this is where we were back in Amsterdam. So we had everything to have, theoretically everything to be happy. But the last piece was really the last bit of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. And that, in other words, is self-image. So really the identity that you want to create for yourself, or how you want to view yourself, as well as the full potential that you see in yourself, and how you can evolve that potential. The problem is with our generation is that we are a generation that is struggling very much with that upper piece of the pyramid. And that is more than the generations before, because we have all the possibilities. We can do with our life whatever we want to. We can be who we want to be. We can learn whatever we want. There are so many online opportunities. We see so many people having an amazing life around us because we are on social media. We can even become Insta famous and travel for nothing, the whole world. So the perfect life is at our feet, and we should actually just grasp it. So we should be super happy about that. If we're looking, like we did a survey, and we surveyed 200 people to ask them how happy they are currently in their everyday life. And it was for us a shock to see that 9 out of 10, almost, people stated that they are, at the moment, really deeply thinking about taking a break of their everyday routine. And why? Because they're really looking for a new adventure. So the majority, or 60%, 2 out of 3, almost said that they would really love to go traveling because they're looking for just a new chapter in their life. And they're not satisfied with the life that they're currently living. For us, as well as for the many people we spoke with, traveling is a good way of just taking a break, just taking some time to rethink, getting out of your usual mindset, distance yourself a bit from your life, and rethink priorities and just set expectations and goals for the future. And good news is that traveling is now more accessible than it has ever been before. So before the 1950s, it was super uncommon to travel just, for leisure purposes. People would mostly travel to migrate to another place. for example. And now the situation has changed. So what's new? Because globalization has opened up, made the world more accessible. So borders are more accessible or not existent anymore. If you take, for example, Europe and the EU, you can just roam around. As well as traveling is becoming more accessible to the masses in terms of money. So it's not anymore really for the rich. If you think about flight prices, now we pay a tenth only of what we would have paid in the 1970s, for example. And if you think about what options there are for example, staying cheaply at a place, just think of couch surfing or house sitting and all kinds of things, amazing things that people are doing for nothing, basically. So traveling is really something that we can do. Also, if we look at the workspace, you have probably, some of you are working as digital nomads, and yeah, the work environment is just gearing. It's not yet there, but we are getting more and more there, that companies are accepting remote workers and freelancers. So the opportunities are there. They're even seeing the benefit of sabbaticals. Many companies are giving time off for people. So we're talking about how so many people are unhappy with what they're currently doing, and that they want to travel. And travel is very accessible and something that is at everybody's reach. So what's the problem? Money. I mean, as you might think. So in the survey it came out that money is the #1 issue, besides many other excuses and also timing being one of them. I never have time. I'm right now in a different life stage. Maybe in 1 year or 2 years it will be better. But yeah, I don't have money. So today we would like to share with you a concept called FIRE. And this is something that helped us in shifting the mindset of, not being able to go and travel and really make that dream come true to doing it. And FIRE has been essential to humankind. So it helped us to transform from cavemen to people we are today. But this is not the type of FIRE, of course, we want to talk about today. Although we think that it's very essential to our generation now, regardless of that. But before we go into all the details of what FIRE stands for, what it is, how you achieve it, we have one small exercise for you. So we'd like to ask you to take 3 minutes time, please, just with a piece of paper or on your notes with your phone, to write down, to picture a life where money would not be a factor.
All right, so this was a pretty interesting exercise, right? Is there anybody that is brave enough to share with the rest of us how they filled up the sentence? Yeah?
Yeah, so if money wouldn't be a problem for me, I think I would take 1 year off any type of work and try to learn something I'm actually trying to learn right now, but don't have time to learn it because it requires a lot of attention. So I think that's what I do.
Pursuing like a hobby or a passion.
I think we were the same.
Anybody else?
Yeah. If money wouldn't be a factor, I would start my social business in Africa right away.
It's very cool. It's
Yeah.
a very good one. All right. Well, all of you probably are already having a burning desire inside of you to figure out what is this FIRE that we're talking about. You might know it, you might not. But FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. And it looks totally different than it does in wrestling. But it says Financial Independence Retire Early. And one of the things that I wanted to actually emphasize is the background picture, which you cannot see. So I'll tell you what it is. The background picture is a face of, it's a close-up of the face of a kid that is screaming with joy and happiness off the top of his lungs. He's really super happy. And the reason why we chose to have this photo in the background here is think back to when you were kids. You were growing up and you didn't have financial responsibilities. Your parents would take care of you, so basically as a kid you could wish for anything that would come to your mind. Anything you just pop in your mind, you see something on TV that's interesting, you tell your parents, I want that. You go to the store, you see a candy, you say, I wish to have that. You had no financial limits to what you could desire. And basically as we grow older, we start to have financial burdens, financial responsibilities. We have to pay for our own toilet paper, toothpaste, things like this come into the formula. And suddenly we have financial responsibilities. And we started limiting and narrowing our wish list of experiences or things that we would like to have in our life to be happier. And this is a common mindset that is being formed, that people instead of thinking, or people think, oh, this thing that I really wish for, I cannot afford it. Instead of thinking, how can I afford this? What can I do in order to afford this? And this is the first mind shift that you need to create on the path to financial independence. So just to give a quick summary, so FIRE is a lifestyle movement of people that are aiming to become financially independent and retiring early, so before the normal age of 65, 80, 70, I don't know what it is depending on the country. And it's an online community that has grown a lot over the last years. So it's something that has been existing for a while, but with the internet it's really exploded and it's a huge community now. And why are so many people, did this one show you? Yeah. Why are so many people desiring to pursue FIRE? So first of all, it gives you the freedom to pursue passions and hobbies, just like Madalena mentioned. Just like, sorry, I don't know your name. What's your name?
George.
Just like George said, you would do things that you are now actually, you don't have the freedom to do them. And the second thing is also that you'll be location independent. You can be anywhere in the world. So some of you might already be, but you're still working, so you miss the freedom, but you are location independent. And lastly, it will also give you the financial security. So if you're able to sustain yourself without having to work, losing your job, I mean, you might still want to have a job or do something, but losing your job will not be such a big burden anymore because you know that you'll be okay. As well as, I mentioned already pension, so the pension age is continuously shifting. For example, recently in the Netherlands, they changed the pension age for the public sector, and there was a huge strike, and people are not happy with it. So they moved it, I think, from 65 to 67. And so you see it's shifting backwards, and I think that, in our generation, we need to take it into our own hands to create this life for ourselves. So, in a nutshell, what does FIRE involve? It involves living a frugal lifestyle, so avoiding splurging on things that do not necessarily make us happy, to think a little bit more, okay, where am I really putting my money? What is really important to me? It involves increasing your savings while reducing your costs and using those savings to accumulate assets that will generate you passive income. We'll go into passive income in a few moments, but this is in a nutshell what this means. And in order to start this path, so the first thing is you need a small mind shift. So you need to start thinking of yourself as a business. And like any business, you need to reach a break-even point. The break-even point of a business is when your income equals your costs. So that is the point where you're basically able to sustain yourself as a business. You're not making profit yet, but you're also not losing money. And if you think about it for yourself, you have to start trying to apply this for yourself. And the key is also to become a passive investor in this business. So you don't want to be working in this business. I mean, working in this business means having a job. But you want to invest into this business and reap the rewards with doing as little as possible. That's the main idea. And passive income can be from, for instance, real estate, dividends paying stocks, other type of stocks, bonds, anything that you can think of. And one thing that I'd like to share with you is the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki. Is anybody familiar with this? Yeah, some of you are nodding yes. So Robert Kiyosaki is famous for writing the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is he's not directly discussing FIRE, but this was one of the pioneering book of this movement, talking about passive income and financial independence. And in this, in the cash flow quadrant, he's talking about 4 places that you can place yourself in. And the first one is employee. So that means that you have a job, you're working for a company, you're earning money, secured, you're building up the pension funds, and that's so that's when you're in that quadrant. The next one is when you are self-employed. So many of you working here remotely might be self-employed as a freelancer. You might even have a small business with a few people working for you, but you own your job, so you still have a job. You're still working for that money, even if you have employees. If you leave the business will not be sustained. You're the central part of this business. And then the next one is B, which stands for business owner. And that is when you start to own a system. So if you think about from a small company going to a large corporation, where everything seems to be running with a system and departments are there, you have the managers and everything is ticking. And even if you go on a 1-year sabbatical to the moon, the business will still run. And this is this point, when you're owning such a business system. And the last one there is I, which stands for investor. And that's when you start to make money work for you. And that is something that Robert Kiyosaki is often mentioning in his books and in his talks, is you need to make money work for you. So this is basically where we want to go to. And here there's a logical path showing that you could move from E to S to B to I. That's not necessarily how, it's not necessarily a complete path you have to follow. For example, Anastasia and me, we were in the E quadrant back in Amsterdam, but we also started already in the I quadrant, and we've put a lot of focus into that quadrant. So you can be in both quadrants, you can be in all 4 of them maybe even, but it's not only a path, so you just have to think for yourself, where am I now and where do I want to go? And so why are we standing here today, as Anastasia already mentioned briefly? We have reached financial independence and are managed to retire early here in Asia. So I'm emphasizing the Asia because we're able to sustain ourselves with a low cost here in Asia. So I just want to give a small background on how we have done this. So about 4 years ago, we started talking about doing a big world trip, and we really wanted to do this. And like Anastasia said, we were snoozing it. But at the same time, we thought, okay, we just start saving money, and at some point we'll have enough in our banks that we can just go off and use that savings to travel. However, as time went by, we started thinking, actually we are saving so much, it's so hard to save, and it takes so much effort. We don't want to go traveling and basically splurge all this savings on the travel and come back and start back from zero. So we started looking for options. What can we do in order to sustain ourselves while traveling? And that's when we started looking into financial independence and financial independence retire early movement. And there's loads of resources online. So we started reading up about it, reading books, listening to podcasts, everything that there is about it. And in the beginning, it seemed a little bit crazy. Can we really achieve this? Is this really something tangible for us? Or are those people that are saying that they did it, are they like some superheroes? And as time went by, we started thinking, okay, what can we really do? And at the time, we were also looking to buy our first apartment together in Amsterdam. And this was a long procedure. We really had to get to know the real estate market and to learn about it. And through this process of buying our first apartment, we realized, hey, this is something that can work for us. This is something that we might be able to do with getting a mortgage and buying an apartment and renting it out to get passive income. This is something really interesting. And we started looking into that idea, and since we lived in Amsterdam, we knew the market, we said, okay, let's try to do this. And 3 years later, we managed to buy 3 apartments, which is what is sustaining us now when we're here in Asia. So this accomplishment made us realize, okay, we managed to achieve it on this scale. We managed to now sustain ourselves living in Asia. We can probably do this further. And we started writing a lot about, okay, why we're traveling, and then we came to the topic of finance, and then we started reflecting about, okay, what did we really do in order to arrive where we are? And that's where we came up with the 5 steps to FIRE. So we divided what we did into 5 steps that we'd like to share with you today through a series of exercises. So the first thing is, step number 1, make a happy list. Really think what makes you happy. What is it that you really desire in life? So think of all the things that you desired as a kid. I mean, try to avoid money as a factor, just like we did in the previous exercise, but make a list that is a bit more also tangible, so to speak. And try to avoid societal pressures. So for instance, if all your colleagues and friends have amazing cars, but you are not really into cars, don't put having a car on your happy list if that does not make you happy. So take 3 minutes and note down for yourself as many things as you can think in this time about things that would make you happy. On a daily basis, weekly basis, try to think about it as tangible as possible.
And by tangible, we don't mean that they have to be materialistic.
Not physical, but even an experience. Like, I mean, but things not like I want to be happy. Yeah, that's a bit too generic. So this is, I mean, we're doing this exercise now, of course, quickly, but this is something you just list for yourself, and this is something that you might want to work out further later, and something that might also change with time. And it's a good thing to know the focus of what makes you happy. That's the aim of the exercise, to enlighten. The next step is to list all your expenses. So try to think of everything that you spend money on a daily basis, so from buying a coffee to food, on a weekly basis, going to the gym, yoga, to a monthly basis, paying for your accommodations, etc. Try to think of as many things as possible and categorize them a bit. Normally you would do this, I mean, if you want to do this later at home, you would look back at your bank statements or credit card statements and try to kind of think, try to look more in detail. But for now, just off the top of your head, take 2 minutes to write down as many things as you can think of. So now we'll move on to the 3rd step, and that is to list all your sources of income. So I'm glad that you can see this photo now. It's not as good as we hoped, but if you're lucky, you're like this guy, that the money just sticks to you somehow, and then you're very happy. But try to think, okay, where does my money come from? Think about, even if you're earning interest on your savings account in the bank, try to start that list for yourself. So take 1 minute to make that list for yourself. Does anybody have more than one source of income on their list? It's very good, and you're on the right path. And but this is the list that you will have to look at and try to expand over time. So it's good that you're starting to make the list, because everybody has to start somewhere. We also did. And yeah, so this is a good reflection for the moment, and it would be interesting to see where you are in half a year from now and a year from now, and always look back to this list. All right, this is where it starts getting interesting. So now take your list of what makes you happy, so your happy list, and look at your expenses and try to match those. What things are you spending money on that are making you happy? And as already mentioned, as George mentioned there, that basic things are also there. I mean, you know, your accommodation, your food. You do need to have some food in your stomach to be happy, but try to look, okay, where is my money really going, and is it going towards what makes me happy? Alright, so hopefully this was eye-opening for some of you, or interesting to look at. For example, for us, when we first did this exercise, we started realizing we have some membership ongoing things for things we never use, and it seems like that everybody somehow has some money leaking out of their bank account for some reason, and it's not contributing to what makes you happy. So the real aim, is to focus on what really makes you happy again. So, we mentioned, okay, basics is accommodations and things like this, but if you're staying in a 5-star hotel all the time and that's not necessarily what you think makes you happy, maybe you could think of other options than that. And the next step is step number 5. Step number 5 is to create multiple sources of passive income. And that can be in various ways. It can be from stocks, real estate, bonds, commodities. There are plenty of options out there. And our recommendation is that you explore the options and try to pursue the ones that resonate with you the most. So think about what you're most familiar with. If you're, for example, into health tech and you know everything, all the ins and outs of the industry, perhaps this is a good direction to go into and look for what companies you can invest in the health tech industry. Really try to be as efficient and as effective as possible. So try to think like a business, and as a business tries to make profit in the most efficient and effective way, try to do the same for yourself. And the point is that you should try to make this step a priority for yourself. Try to find some urgency for yourself. For example, for us, we set ourselves the aim of traveling, and that really created an urgency. We said we want to do this before a certain date, and then we really worked for it and really found ways to create a passive income so that we could go and travel in Asia without having to work. So set milestones for yourself, set deadlines, and try to avoid postponing it by making it an urgent thing for yourself. So this is it. This is our 5 steps to financial independence, retire early. To recap, step number 1 is to make a happy list. Think of all the things that you really want in your life and what really makes you happy. Step number 2 is to list all your expenses. Think about a daily, weekly, monthly basis and really try to be as detailed as possible. When you have the time, look into your credit card statements or bank statements to be as detailed as possible. Step number 3 is to list all your income sources. And at the beginning it might be only one, but this is really the list that you should aim to expand. And by having this transferable in front of you, then this is something that you can really work on. Step number 4 is to match your expenses to your happy list. So really try to look, are you spending your money on the right things? And this is something that you should do more often, to really always relook, okay, am I really putting my effort, which is my money, into something that really makes me happy? And evaluate this over and over throughout time. Step number 5 is to create multiple sources of passive income. And well, this is the most important step. This is something that will also take a long time. And it should be made an urgency and a priority to achieve it. Now you might be thinking, is this retirement really sustainable? Well, the truth is that it might not be sustainable forever. It is something that we have to keep on working at and to keep on developing for ourselves. There are several challenges that include, for example, the changing life stages and lifestyle that you have. So as you go and you grow older and you start building a family and you move to different places for various reasons, you might have different needs. And your required level of expenses will increase, and therefore you will have to increase your level of income. However, we believe that by achieving this retirement for the first time, we're able to prove to ourselves that it is possible, and to also keep this as a priority and something in the back of our mind always, that this is the goal and this is something that we want to achieve for ourselves. So once you reach this retirement once, you'll notice that you'll have the space to explore new opportunities and to try out new things, which will lead to new ways of creating income for yourself that are not foreseeable right now. So by achieving this, you will really be able to figure out how you can sustain it for a longer time. For example, with us, we started working on our blog and exploring our hobby of writing. We started practicing it more and improving it. And at the moment, we're working on a book, which is something that we did not anticipate at all when we first set off on this retirement. So throughout the time, you will notice that you will find new opportunities and you'll find ways to make this actually sustainable for yourself. And for each person it's different, but we believe that everybody can find something for themselves that will work for them. As mentioned, we're working on a book which is about the life-transforming magic of travel, and there we share our experience and other people's experience of long-term travel with practical tips and advice on how to make it happen for yourself. And this is also what we're writing about in our blog, so sign up for a newsletter. We're sending a newsletter every Friday with practical advice on how you can transform your life and design it in the way that you would like to live your life. If you want to contribute to our book and to our research, please fill in our survey as well. You can find it at generationnomads.com/survey. We would appreciate your input, as this is really helping us to create the best content for you and others that are seeking to improve their lifestyle. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching the video recording of the first Finimize event in Bali, hosted by us, Anastasia and Tomer from Generation Nomads. And if you have any questions or remarks about this topic, just post them in the comments and we'll make sure to get back to you. If you have a more private message you would like to send us, you can of course send it also to hello@generationnomads.com and we'll get back to you as well. Thank you.